It is official, or like that a law is passed that will require like the Federalists to pay tax on hydro flasks, otherwise they will go out of business. This is our land, and if they want to use it, they'll have to pay for it.
And I, and I, and I, and I, and I, and I, and I.
It is a typical day at the town's VSCO hangout. The federal side reigns over the whole VSCO nation, while the state VSCO girls rule the town where the federal hangout is located.
What? The state VSCO girls want us to pay tax for our hydro flasks? No way. We are supporting the whole nation. There is no need for us to pay these taxes because they are completely unconstitutional.
And I, girl, we need to get this sorted out fast. This is unacceptable, and we do not need any of this nonsense.
Let's go!
Meanwhile, on the other side, at the Democratic Republican side.
Alright, girlies. In 1791, Alexander Hamilton and Congress chartered the first national bank in Philadelphia. In 1811, James Madison and Congress refused to renew the bank charter, so it failed because of the lack of support for the bank. In 1812, years following the War of 1812, which is the Americans versus Britons, established the end of British presence in America, inflation compelled the Congress to establish a new bank. 1816, Second National Bank was reinstated to help deal with debt from the War of 1812, which then allowed for smaller individual banks in the U.S. 1818, Maryland passed a law that required the bank to buy paper, aka hydro flasks, from the state. We had to pay $15,000 tax or #go bankrupt.
Great! This tax will allow us to buy all the scrunchies of the land.
The Federalists confront the Democratic Republicans.
The tax is unconstitutional, and you know it. We were established by the federal government of VSCO Nation to control the unregulated issuance of currency for state banks and state. We're helping you, and you do this?
Our VSCO hangout is necessary and proper for the VSCO Nation to carry on. You can't tax a federal institution.
Start using our resources and land. We have the right to tax you. As a sovereign state, we have the right to tax any business within our borders.
As most agree, even from the beginning of our country, the bank's constitutionality is still uncertain. Therefore, how can you argue that we are unconstitutional when many disagree with your establishment?
We are officially taking this to court. Be prepared to get destroyed. And
Not if I can help it.
As the case of the Second National Bank is taken to the federal court, the two sides prepare for an all-out war in order to win, while they access all of their arguments for the judge. Order, order! Please, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear that everything I say shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear that everything that I say shall be like the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but like the truth.
The federal government possesses powers necessary to implement its enumerated powers, and its authority is derived from the people rather than the states, unlike Maryland and SK.
Wait a minute there, sir. The federal government's powers are limited to those that the Constitution specifically enumerates. The national government derived its authority from the states, whose powers predated the Constitution. Delegates to the Constitutional Convention had been elected by state legislators, and the states had ratified the Constitution.
That is completely irrelevant. This calls for war.
You guys are really gonna get it.
Oh, no way. You guys are going down. No!
Don't throw the turtles! Save the turtles!
Oh no, we ran out of turtles.
Now you're really gonna pay for this. You've done too much already.
And that was the last straw.
What is going on here? Okay, this is what's going to happen. In 1819, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall rules in favor of the Federalists, the bank, under the Supremacy and the Necessary and Proper Clause. Daniel Webster, William Wirt, and William Pinckney argued on behalf of the bank, while Luther Martin argued on behalf of Mary Land.
Now we'll never get all the scrunchies in the land.
Resolving the controversy over the source of the federal authority, the court found that the national government is emphatically and truly a government of its people, because the government of the Union emanates from them, its power are granted by them, and to be exercised directly on them and for their benefit. The ruling of this case set a precedent for future cases. For example, healthcare, marijuana, immigration, the Second Amendment, as well as the LGBTQ rights. Additionally, it asserted national supremacy over state supremacy and further defined federalism. Federal legislation addresses a legitimate federal concern. The state cannot stand in the way of the national interest. This case represented a landmark in defining the relative scopes of federal and state powers. The continuing debate over the respective powers of federal and state governments caused the Union to rupture into a civil war. Chief Justice Marshall not only drew an initial line between federal and state powers, but helped define the nature of the Constitution. Distinguishing it from laws that are enacted by the legislature, he observed that its nature requires that only its great outlines should be marked, its important objects designated, and the minor ingredients which comprise those objects be deduced from the nature of the object themselves. This case had significant effects on what federalism means in the United States. Although federalism is shared power between the state and federal government, McCulloch v. Maryland reaffirmed that the United States has a stronger central government, that federal laws have authority over state laws. Furthermore, the case established that the federal government has powers that are not listed in the Constitution, though the necessary and proper clause. And that's all we have time for. Until next time, SK, your VSCO girls.